Welcome to the Great Compromise Podcast. How are you doing today, Victoria?
I'm doing well, thanks. Ready to debate.
Excellent. But before we start, let's talk about this show's format. This will be a somewhat structured debate between Victoria and myself. The pro side will start, and they'll explain their point of view. And then the con side will follow with theirs. After both sides have gone, we'll head into an open debate. And that's when the fun starts. Our topic today is student loan forgiveness. Forgiveness of your loan means that you are no longer required to repay some or all of your loan. So why are we talking about student loan forgiveness? These days, with rising college costs, and with student loans reaching well over $1 trillion in America, this has become a topic of debate. With one side calling for the government to cancel all student loans, and the other saying the borrower should take responsibility for the personal loans. So let's get into it.
I am pro student loan forgiveness. Student loan debt slows the country's economy. Forgiving student loan debt boosts the economy and benefits everyone because it allows people better chances at getting business loans or other loans when they do not already have a large outstanding debt. This would create more new businesses and drive up the economy. Secondly, college loan debts disproportionately hurt African American students because they statistically borrow more money than white college students, since Black students are more likely to come from less affluent families and be first-generation students. The Community College Research Center at Columbia University showed that Black graduates have twice as much debt as white graduates due to higher interest rates and graduate school loans. Black workers often need more education in order to get the same salaries and positions as white workers, which leaves them with more debt. This not only impacts these individuals, but their families and communities as well. It keeps them from accumulating wealth and contributes to racial inequality. Lastly, choosing to get a college education shouldn't prevent people from achieving their dreams. Student loan debt has increased about 102% over the last 10 years, from $845 billion in 2010 to $1.17 trillion in 2020. Student loan debt has prevented our generation from getting married, buying a house, or saving for retirement. The benefits of forgiving student loan debt have long-term consequences that would create financial and personal well-being, improve job stability, improve credit scores, and create homeownership earlier in life, along with the opportunity to build wealth, have family stability, and achieve overall life satisfaction.
Interesting points, Victoria. But I am against student loan forgiveness. Let's talk about taxes, shall we? Expensive doesn't even begin to cover how much money a student loan forgiveness program would cost. According to the Brookings Institute and data from the Department of Education, forgiving all federal loans, as Senator Bernie Sanders has proposed, would cost somewhere around $1.6 trillion. Even limiting loan forgiveness to $10,000, as President Biden has proposed, would cost about $373 billion. So where would that money come from? It has to come from somewhere. If you guessed taxes, you would be right. Now, according to Senator Sanders, he would start with a Wall Street tax, but it will likely not end there when they figure out that doesn't provide enough money to pay for this plan. No, it will come from you and me like it always does. It's just shifting private debt to public debt. For my next point, schools would have no reason to limit tuition costs if loans are just forgiven anyways. Abigail Hall Blanco, PhD, assistant professor of economics at the University of Tampa, said loan forgiveness would be one giant subsidy, creating perverse incentives for both schools and students. If schools knew the government would forgive the cost of their students' educations, they'd face no incentive to cut costs to keep tuition down. And she's right. If you think the cost of higher education is high now, just imagine how high it will get when the schools realize they can charge whatever they want and the government will pay for it. It would be stupid of them not to raise prices. And remember, our taxes pay for it. Now, obviously, we all know life isn't fair, but the government needs to create laws and programs that are as fair as possible. Student loan forgiveness is not fair. It's not fair to the millions of Americans who already work to pay off their own student loans. Why should our good work ethic be punished? And why would we reward those who haven't had to create that work ethic by paying off their own loans? Getting a college education is by no means required. So why would American citizens be required to pay for the personal choices of others? That is not fair.
Nicely made. I think you made some good points there, Jim. I'd like to address your point about the student tuition not being controlled if we are forgiving loans. I think that's probably the best point that you made, but I have some arguments. When I say that student loan forgiveness is important, I'm not saying that it's important for people that go to private schools and like those loans that you know you're incurring to have like a higher degree that isn't necessarily much better than one that you just need to do your job. I think that if like what you want to do with your life requires a college degree, then going to a state school is good enough, and those are the loans that can still be crippling for people. So student loan forgiveness programs, in my opinion, should be focused on state schools. And then because a lot of those state schools are funded by the government, the tuition can be a little bit more controlled so it doesn't get out of hand. Because it's true that it wouldn't be anything discouraging colleges from keeping their tuition costs low if they know that the debt isn't even going to weigh on the students. But every program that we have is full of checks and balances, and I think that could be applied to student loan forgiveness.
Well, currently, most of the debt from student loans is from grad school. The average bachelor's degree is going to incur about $30,000 in student debt. So right now, that 1.6 trillion or 1.7 trillion in debt from student loans, that is mostly from grad school. So would we even be helping the situation if we don't help the people in grad school? And if we do, would that be disproportionately helping people who are already better off than those who aren't anyways?
I don't think so. I mean, my argument about state school versus private doesn't have anything to do with graduate school. State schools offer graduate programs. Mm-hmm. Helping people get their graduate degrees doesn't seem to disproportionately affect the ability to go and get a graduate degree. You know, is that picking favorites because plenty of people don't want graduate degrees? No, that's just their choice. That's a lot more time to invest before you can actually start making money. Graduate programs are really lengthy and all-consuming.
That's just their choice. Is that what you just said?
To not go and get a graduate degree if there's student loan forgiveness available?
That's just their choice. Well, wouldn't college in general just be their choice?
Yes, but there's so much about not having a college degree that makes earning enough to be comfortable difficult. I think that's an argument made by parents everywhere, that you should go to college and earn enough to make a good living. There are plenty of jobs like trade schools that also make a good living, but not everybody is cut out for those. I know I don't have what it takes to be an electrician. So college is the answer. And yes, that's your choice, but you're also choosing what's going to create the best life for yourself. And if you can't afford school, if you can't get a loan, or if you know that paying back those loans is going to be crippling, you've seen it in other people, then going for a college degree is not like just an equal opportunity choice. That's a huge burden.
One of the problems I would say is that, especially with the millennial generation, is that we were like unilaterally encouraged to all go to college. That's what our parents told us, that's what our schools told us. The answer is always college. Well, that's not really true. I mean, the trade schools were also an option, and we weren't even encouraged to go look at those, and I think a lot of people may have benefited from doing so and incurred less debt, certainly, but we're seeing a shortage in the trades because we were all encouraged to go to college. And I'll let other people decide if my political science degree was worth my time and all that money I spent on it, but I'm not sure that it was. And I think that's the case with a lot of people. So, yes, we weren't all encouraged to go to college, but we still had a choice. And because it was a personal choice that we decided to do, it's also our personal debt. And I don't like the idea of saddling society with personal debt. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. And you had me for like the first part of your point there. Like, I definitely agree that not everybody needs to go to college, that it was the path, like the right path that was set out for so many people. And the people that I know that didn't go to college and are working in trades are doing great. And I think that's an excellent option. I also believe in taking a gap year to like try things out and see if what you think you want to do is really what you want to do. Because so many people that go to college then have an internship and realize that they hate what they majored in. They just didn't have any real life experience. It's like a romantic idea of what you want to do. So yes, like college is not the cure-all. It's not the one path for everybody, and it's not going to create like a perfect future. I think being creative and looking at all your options is really smart. But if college is where you're being led and that's like the path you need to take to do what you want, then the incredible rate of tuition shouldn't be holding you back from doing it.
Okay, that's a fair point, but at the end of the day, it is still a personal responsibility. I mean, nobody's entitled to a college education, and you're certainly not entitled to the fruits of other people's labor, right? It's like they get to choose to go to college, and then they also get to choose to saddle the rest of us with their own debt, and that just doesn't sit right with me.
Well, what if it's not a 100% saddling the community with debt through taxes? It can be an assistance program, or like if you qualify. That's true of so many of the programs that we have in the United States.
Yeah, but where does that money come from?
It comes from taxes,
Of
but
course.
it's not the same amount if you were covering free college for everybody.
Well, yes, like President Biden's plan, well, he was candidate Biden at the time. I'm not sure he's going to follow through. That's yet to be seen. But he said he would cover like $10,000 of people's college tuition. Even that partial amount would still cost $373 billion to the American taxpayer. So nothing in life is free. This money comes from us. And I just have a problem with paying for other people's personal debt.
Okay. I understand where you're coming from, and I'm not thrilled about higher taxes either. But I think that I look more at this issue as like a way to lift people up and be able to have like a more fulfilling life, not like we're all being burdened by somebody who doesn't want to be responsible for the own debt that they incur. It's more like creating opportunity for people, and that's just an optimistic perspective at it. I don't really mind creating more opportunity for people to grow and achieve more if that's what a college degree would do for them. I think there could be like stipulations on the program, so it's not like out of hand and we're paying for people's degrees that they actually have no intention of using.
Well, that's just going to happen. But, I mean, it sounds really nice. All these liberal programs that want to help people, lift people up. I mean, of course, it sounds really nice. Wouldn't that be great if we could help everybody and everyone gets an ice cream cone at the end of the day? But we have we have to be realistic. We can't just create this plan in a thin air without, okay, where does the money come from? Like, is this even a realistic idea? And at the end of the day, I mean, $1 trillion this would cost is not realistic. It just isn't.
Well, I think you're right. It can't just be whipped up out of thin air. I think everybody should get an ice cream cone. I don't know what you have against ice cream, but I believe that we have smart enough people in power to figure out a way to make a program as hopeful as this realistic and just creating more equality.
Smart enough people in power. I don't know who you're referring to, but I don't think there's anyone like that. Which, therein lies the problem. But we agree on some things. I mean, obviously college tuition is too high. There's got to be some kind of way to limit how much tuition can cost, because these schools are getting out of control.
Yeah, it definitely needs to be more accessible.
That's for sure. But we should also steer more people towards the trades. I think that's a great idea.
I do.
There's a shortage right now anyways. That's part of the solution.
Certainly. I agree with that. And also not putting such an importance and prestige on just having a college degree in general.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of The Great Compromise. If you liked it, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and stay tuned for our next episode. See you guys then.